Welcome to On the Bench with Brent Schlinker. This is part 1 of dubbing techniques. Hopefully you will find the information helpful on selecting the right materials and techniques for your fly tying needs.
Today we'll be talking about dubbing. I'll go over some of the many types of dubbing there is, try to break that down for you a little bit so you know which dubbing to use in different applications, and also how to dress the shank with some different methods of dubbing techniques. So we'll get to it. It's going to be maybe a 4 or 5 part series on dubbing alone. I'm going to have this on our podcast. You can follow it along in the tying course. And well, here we are with a pile of dubbing, and this is all different types of dubbing here. There's just no end to it. There's millions of colors are available and all the different types of dubbing. So we want to make sure when you're using dubbing that you're using dubbing for the right purpose. For example, dry flies. You're going to want to make sure that you have some nice dubbing here. This is also treated to float. Synthetic fine and dry, for example, you want to make sure you're using the right kind of dubbing so your flies will float. Otherwise, they soak up water and they will sink on you if you're using the wrong. So we'll get into that. Now, here is also Semperfli Kapok dubbing, which is also where they made life jackets out of this stuff, and it's really buoyant. So that's another good dry fly material, and fine and dry. So those are a couple. There's other different brands. I'm not endorsing any particular brand or anything here for you. I'm just giving you what's available when you walk into your shops or go to buy it. Make sure that you're using dubbing that is applicable to the style of flies you're tying. So, but these little packages where they have all the different assortments right in, they're very handy. You can take them on the road with you to tie flies. You can kind of match the hatch wherever you're going to. So those are a really good idea too. I like these little packages, if you will. Here's one here with a life cycle. Nymph dubbing here, nice and bright, kind of an Antron blend. Some of these are special blends. That'd be for your nymphs. And here's for the caddis, basically the caddis colors. So it's the same situation there. Here's some trilobal yarn or dubbing here in different colors. Very, very good option for that. And then there, again, we have trilobal for steelhead. So those little packages are really a very good way of doing things. Now here's Rabbitron, which has got rabbit and antron mixed, and also squirrel. So this would make a great for smaller nymphs, the Rabbitron, like using that. And then squirrel dubbing is it's a little coarser, so you can use that for thoraxes. Okay. And also for dry flies, you can just use Antron. There you go. You can get that in all kinds of colors here. So I'm going to show you some different blends in that from different manufacturers. There's like, say, Wapsi, Scud. Now that's all blended and made for your scuds. It's all ready to go. So it's very specific, some of the uses for that. And here's some more of your Antron. Will make great thoraxes on the stimulators and so forth. So be mindful of the recipes that you're going to see from all the different flies that are online and available to books or whatever the case may be. Stay with this type of dubbing that it asks for. Some sparkle dubbing here. This is very nice. We're going to get into some of the translucence when we start doing our techniques. You're going to see some of that. Here's some of the ice dubs. There's just a million colors of that. That makes great accent or real nice bright colors, or there's some features. I'll show you some different methods with that as well. So just a no end to it here. Like say the ice dubs UV materials in it. That's a really, really good product there. I like the UV materials. Here's another one, UV2. It's got a lot of the UV in there. That has been a game changer for many fly patterns. Older patterns, I've added that too, and a lot of new patterns too. That fish love eating that stuff. Okay, then we go into leeches. Here's blend for just leeches alone. Nice, soft, breathable material and makes great leech bodies. African goat. There's a natural fine hair that you can use for leeches in different colors. I use that actually even for hackling in some cases. And look at the new stuff we're coming out with now. Here's Rainbow Scud. You know, just a great blend. Beautiful colorations in there and a nice mix. And it's all synthetic. It won't soak up water too much. And you can use that for a lot of accents. We're going to use a lot of this as we go along showing you the steps. Now the Hairtron is one of my favorites for small nymphs because I like when I dub this up and I get my ribbing underneath and the Sandtron pokes out from the rabbit. So that is a really, really good material. We're going to get into that one. Here's one if you want to add a little, this is just Hares Ear Dub, and then they add a little crystal in there for a little accent. That makes a very nice body too. So we'll get into these. I'm going to use all this stuff for you, and we'll figure out where and why we use it. And here's just some good olive hares here, just basic nymph stuff, and that's good too. Like buggy nymphs with this is perfect. And then my favorite, of course, there's seal fur. This is a seal sub, and it's made to substitute the seal because some areas you're not able to get a hold of seal fur. And if you're able to get it, that's one of my favorites is seal fur. Fish just love eating seal fur. And there's a nice claret. And we'll get into some blending as well. Here's Ligas Sparkle Amber. This is a translucent, ultra translucent dubbing. There again, makes super nymphs. You're going to see it when it gets on the shank and we start ribbing this and brushing it out a little bit, how the effect is on your flies. Here's some semi-seal. There again, it's all blended up, lots of red in here for your leeches and what have you, but just great material. So once you get a bag of this, it'll do a lot of bugs. You can try so much with a bag of that and so forth. So here's some more of the ice dub, fluorescent. That really gets really nice and bright when the fluorescent rays are on there. And Hares Ear Dubbing is great. Now here's a synthetic peacock hare's ear. It's totally synthetic. I do some little caddis nymphs with this, and the fish just love eating it. It's just great. Now here we have some hare's ear from Doug Schwisher, Rub-a-Dub. He's had this out for years, and you can still get it. It's got some small, very fine rubber in there, and those make super good collars on small little nymphs too. He was using that a lot in New Zealand, and I've used those collars, and it's got a little movement in there, little miniature legs. It works great. So here's some dubbing that, here I was combing the underfur out on polar bear. So I keep all the underfur separate and just keep it bagged up, and that makes really nice dubbing for large streamers. So anything that's fur, basically, you can use for dubbing. There's more rabbit fur all dyed up in different colorations. You can match anything you want or give it some accents. Seal fur there again. Here's natural seal fur. I was buy this in bulk for years. Here's extra select craft fur when you're doing wings or tailing material and whatever. I'll comb the brush that bottom out, and I'll keep that for dubbing too. And all the new stuff that keeps coming out. And here's one of my favorite newcomers is the laser dub from Senyos. Look at here, the beautiful colorations. It's easy to tie. It's just makes beautiful streamers basically. It's a game changer. It makes it really easy to tie nice streamers with the Senyos laser dub. Squirrel blend. Here just a buggy dubbing like I mentioned earlier for collars or thoraxes. And if you want to make your own dubbing, here you go. Here's some mink hair, and I'll use the guard hairs for something in the bottom underfur here is actual natural floating because it's from a water, an animal that lives in the water. So they're not going to soak up the water. It's actually waterproof. It sheds water. So you can get your hands on some of that. Oh, and here's another friend of mine, Morrill gave me this, is rock chuck. And it's, I chopped that up and blended it in and make some really buggy dubbing as well. There's some rabbit. You can blend up your own, all the colorations there. We'll show you how to do that with the blenders. All has its own place. And here's some custom dubbings that I just blend myself. Sometimes I'm looking for certain colorations and whatever. So I make my own. There's some mink dubbing there that'll float. There's some lace dub and some hair. So here's some little touch dubs, all chopped very fine. I'm going to do this for you. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit. I know that's pretty overwhelming, all the amount of materials, but we'll get into it and we'll get to the vise and start wrapping some up. Well, folks, here we're starting with the dubbing techniques. I'll be using just regular Hares Ear dubbing. For this one, we'll just dress our shank. Our thread, get going. I'm going to add a copper rib on this fly. We always have to have ribs on her. I would say always. I'm going to throw a half hitch. Now so this is really nice buggy dubbing here for nymphs. Now you can put a tight dub on here, roll it really nice and small and tight. Which is good for the smaller nymphs. Get a few turns on there and just tighten it up as you go. So that'll give you a really nice, you can tie some really nice little bugs doing that. That looks really good. Now, if you wanted to go with more of a, say, buggier type hare's ear, we're going to do a little larger noodle right there and loose. I'm not tightening it up too much. Just want to get a few turns. And it's coming in there nice and loose. It's still holding together, but once it starts, I'll give it a couple just little turns and wrap it forward. But it gives you a much buggier appearance, okay? Now if we want to go super buggy, we're going to put a dubbing loop. Just go around and then go around the bottom of the loop. So it's a nice tight V in there. There's dubbing spinners, twisters. You can use just a spring clip if you want. I'll just put my dubbing spinner on there. So all we need to do is take a little of our dubbing. We slip it up in between the threads. Give it a good spin. And there you have a nice tight dubbing loop. Hand over hand that forward. One turn ahead of the other. So there you get a really nice buggy appearance. So we're going to be talking about dubbing loops a lot. Tie it off. There you go. So you got 3 different types of dubbing techniques just with that one dubbing, of course, and it changes your fly quite a lot. I didn't have to have the wire on there, but we'll do it anyway. That gives it the segmentation. Tie the wire off. And bring a little wire dubbing brush. A little picker. You can use Velcro. This is a little kind of a wire. There's also little guys here. I got a little, here's another little dubbing picker for the wee little ones. Picking out the legs. There's lots of different tools. But you can see the really nice buggy bodies. Now you don't get that appearance with chenille. It won't get the job done like natural dubbings. I'm just a proponent of that. There's synthetic dubbings that are very good too. We're going to get into those. Okay, so that's kind of the basis of your rabbit dubbing. Now, don't use rabbit dubbing for dry flies. It soaks up the water and it won't float. So we need to use dubbing made for dry flies. Dress the shank again, as you always do, so the material doesn't slide around on you. So what do we have here? Fine and dry. Here's some light olive. It's already been treated to float. It's got some floating in there. It's Antron. It's designed for dry flies. So make sure you don't use rabbit on dry flies or anything that'll soak up the water. Get my little package open here. Now we're going to dub that just by hand, just like I say, nice and thin. Just comes off super thin, and roll it on one direction. And you usually have the taper, so you're going to have very thin at the rear, and then start getting a little more as we come forward. Gets a little thicker to get a bit of a taper, and you're going to go over itself to get more of a taper. And that's a nice, it's got a little, I don't wrap it down super tight. I like a little of that Antron poking out. It just looks nice and natural. Let me zone in on that. And let me dial up in here. We can see it a little better. Yeah. So there you can see the texture that I'm looking for in a dry flies. Okay, now get me another dry fly hook here. So another cool idea that was used years ago a lot more. My mentor Walt Lawson showed me this one. This is actually a dubbing noodle. Dress the shank. And then we're going to, I just showed you this dubbing loop. I'm going to take this dry fly dubbing here, lay it in my hand, and we're going to roll it. I'm going to roll it together, and here's a dubbing noodle. Tie it on just by the tip. Okay. Take our little dubbing loop. Make sure you come in around your dubbing loop so it's nice and pinched off, nice and tight. Put my spinner on there. I'm just going to take the noodle in between the dubbing. Oh, sorry. There we go. We'll loop that. Just put that in the dubbing loop. Tighten that right up. This method you don't see much anymore. But you see the nice taper? And you're also, what you're going to get if you look at it really closely is a really nice segmentation. It came in behind. Wanted to come in behind. You got to go ahead. Touching turns. And you're going to get a segmentation on that body. If you need to tighten it up a little more, go for it. And that's a dubbing noodle. Tie it off when you're to the front where you want to tie in your wings and hackles and so forth, right? You can see that very segmentation on there, natural segmentation, and the materials are all sticking out. That is a great way to do dry flies. Worth the price of admission right there. Okay. Now we will talk about, that's just the basics dry flies. Okay, let's go back to the nymphs. I'll get myself a little nymph hook here. And you can use a rabbit as we went on earlier. I'm going to come in here with one of my favorites. It's a rabbit with a little antron blended in, the antron, Haretron. Okay, or Hares Ear Plus. So it's similar to the dry fly dubbing, which is treated. It's got some sparkle involved, which is nice, but it doesn't float. So the dry fly dubbing and this is different characteristics. So that's what you need to know when you're selecting your materials. Well, how does it operate? How does it look in the water? And what does it do in the water? I'm going to bring in just some flat pearl tinsel here, just from my rib. Show you this technique. I like this nymph body. I really do. Throw a half inch in there. Okay, now we'll bring in our Haretron. We're just going to do this by hand. We're going to do a taper. And as I'm doing this, it's coming out of keeping the dubbing in my holding hand here. With the other hand is what I'm going to turn. It's my spinning. And I'm just rolling it on the same as it comes out of my fingers, okay? There we go. Now we'll come to the rear. We'll have our tail and so forth on there. I'm not going to tie the complete fly. We're just doing the bodies. And then we're going to wrap forward. Starting to get loose. We want to tighten that up. I'm going to get a bit of a taper. I'm going to do a little more just so we can show you how it looks the way if I did a whole fly body with that. Now when it's coming to the head, I want a little thicker noodle on there. Start getting our taper. That's the important part of a nymph, is getting your taper really nice. Depends if it's clingers or the crawlers too, because the nymphs do change the shape of them. So sometimes your patterns, be mindful of that. If you're doing nymphs for lakes, you want them a little thinner, and you want them a little thicker for clingers, as we call them in the rivers. I'm just going to come through with this pearl and get a really nice segmented body with a Haretron. Cut that off. Now we'll grab our little brush. I'm just going to lightly pick that out. And you see the antron peeking out, a little bit of that hair. Bring that back. When that gets wet, that is one super nymph. That's what really makes my nymphs tick right there. That style of nymph bodies is my go-to. Really like it. Okay, so let's get on to another. Get my bobbin all straightened around here. Step back, there we go. Now here we have this Generation X. As we talked about the rub-a-dub, this is just rabbit again, but it's got the little pieces of rubber in there for legs. So if we were going to do, we did a nymph. Now you could have a different nymph body on here totally. Let's see, let's do something up. Make it up as we go. Just show you some techniques. Rest the shank. I always throw half inches when I'm done. It's just a habit I got into with my Norweiss. I'm just doing this without spinning the Norweiss. I'll bring in I better put my body material in there again. My rib, my little pearl. We'll just do the same as we just did a minute ago. I'll bring in the Hairtron. We'll do that same body. Actually, what I could have done is use that same one I just did, right? I'm going to do it a little thicker. Or a lot thicker. Another loose, kind of a loose dub. This will pick out even more. It's going to be a real buggy nymph. Make sure it's going around the thread. I like using the waxed threads. This is an 8/0 olive wax thread. Not use flats, you're going to need to use some dubbing wax on them to get that material to kind of adhere. It'll make it a lot easier to work with. But I like to just use my wax threads. But every tyer's got their preferences. I know you will have ways of doing things you like to do, and that's good. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no right way and wrong way. Okay, so I'll just leave that without plucking that out for a minute. We'll leave it nice and tight back there. Bring another little dubbing loop. My spinner. Now we need our rub-a-dub. So this here makes a nice thorax. Our collar. Doug Swisher designed this. He used to fish New Zealand a lot, and those fish over there are super, super fussy. Clean, clear water, gin clear water. And he said this little bit of rubber in the dubbing really made a difference. I bought a whole schwack of it from him down there in Montana. I met him down there at his place, and it all colored. I got lots of it left, but I think it's still manufactured. And it does work. I've used this with just a little wire in behind wire ribs or whatever the case, and put a little collar with this on the front. I just fold that as I keep going forward. And there is a really nice buggy nymph for thorax there. I'm just going to, my wet finish, and tie that off because I want to pluck this out. We have to get a little brush on that one. Brush it forward. See how buggy that is, eh? Now we'll just kind of let it come back naturally. I'm not going to do much more with it, but it's got some wrap that gives it a very nice buggy nymph. And I seen that book, I think it was Ernie Schweibert, if I get the name correct. Ernest Schweibert, I think it was, yeah. Buggy Nymphs, he wrote a book about that. And then I kind of follow those footsteps. I really like that buggy nature, and I agree. Those trout, they like buggy flies. They really do. They eat them all the time. So there you go. That's just another good idea for you there. With another, well, here we go with the next technique we'll be using on this seal substitute. Very long, kind of a slippery material. There's some of J. Fair's seal sub. It's kind of a African goat. Kind of a chopped and blended, I would say. Use that. Now it's a little hard to get around the shank like that. You don't get the buggy nature. It would just lay basically flat to the thread. We want a nice, generally when we're using that material, we want a nice, real nice buggy nature to it. So I'm just going to put in a dubbing loop with the rear. We'd have, and then we'll bring in our finish or our spinner. And I'll spin that thread down so I've got a lot of this. It's really nice and tight here. So we'll bring in our dubbing, and I'll just start working it up little pieces at a time up into the thread. Just jam it right up in there. And keep working it up. We go along, and then you'll find some that's kind of coming out. It'll brush out after we're done. Okay, so let me finish that loop here, and then I'm going to show you something with natural silver. But I'll finish tightening that right up. So that'll give us a nice nice dubbing loop there. We can pluck any of the loose stuff off, and be kind of a dubbing that we use for like a seal buggers and anything looking for seal. Might be salmon fly hooks, patterns, or whatever. And we'll brush it out. You can put a rib of copper rib or something on that, and brush it out. It's a nice material. It works great. You can also blend colors. We'll get into that. I'm going to be blending some dubbing here for you in a little bit. I'm not going right to the head. I want to finish off the front here. I'm just going to take my brush and show you how that gives you that effect you're looking for there. Okay. Now we'll take another little loop. We'll just get our spinner in there again. Now I'll bring in the real deal. We got some seal fur. This is actual seal fur. Now it comes out of the bags a lot of times, different materials. It's not blended always that good. It's kind of clumpy. You see it's not hanging together. So take your coffee bean grinder. Not only just for blending colors, you can put a little of that static guard in there. That'll just help everything blend it together. Throw those clumps, see the clumps in there? And also sometimes throw a little ice dub in that. Really looks good too. But this will really make your day a lot better, because look at that, nice and it's the same material, doesn't even look the same. Nice and translucent and easy to manage. Okay, so now we'll spin it the same way. I'll grab my seal in my other hand here. And we'll just start running that up tight into the loop. And it'll only go up so far because it's got some twists in it. And this is very slippery material. So then I'll give it some more, tighten it up again. Keep pinching that right up. Just jam that in between those threads. Get a good, tighten it right up here now. Shrinking quite a bit. See, you're getting a really nice buggy. This stuff is awesome. My favorite stuff in the whole world, as they would say. I like this. I'll just kind of bring it back. But this seal fur has got the translucency that can't be duplicated. I know everybody's been trying to do that for years, and good luck with that, because Mother Nature's got the patent on seal fur and polar bear. It is just amazing stuff. And we're lucky in Canada we can use it. Some of you guys can't, but I feel for you. I'm going to zone in on that a little bit so you can see actually the difference in the translucency. So let me just pull in a little tighter here if I can. There we go. Grab myself a brush. Just a little bodkin needle. You can pluck. You always have to pluck these out. Get those fibers out. Work on that a little bit in those bodies. Get a brush on it. Brush it back. I use a big nylon brush sometimes too. It works really good. Fish love eating seal fur. So there's a big buggy body. That would go on a much bigger fly than what I hook and I've got in the vise here, but that'll give you the technique of how to do that. Well, our next style here will be touch dubbing. This is a great method here, created by Gary LaFontaine. Like tying his caddis nymphs like this, and he was a caddis fly expert for sure. Taking our 8/0 thread on the little hook there, I'm bringing in some dubbing wax. Put a generous amount on that. I've taken some of this Antron dubbing and I've chopped it super fine and put it in my coffee bean grinder. So then I just touch it on both sides of the thread with my fingers and wrap it on. There'll be a few pieces come off. That'll be fine. It's only gonna, because it's all chopped very fine. We can't go, it's not gonna be clumpy like this in a minute. We just keep wrapping forward. And this traps the air bubbles in the pattern that the caddis have. It is a great technique. It's a fly that probably threw it in some fly bin in a shop. Nobody'd want to buy it, but that is a deadly little rascal right here. If you can see that, but I've got the materials are chopped super fine. They're marked touch dub, and it's good to go. But you can see it. I'll have to bring it up to you here. Very finely chopped. Okay, and now if you want to just finish that bug off, just grab yourself a couple barbools of this dark ostrich, for example, or some other dark brown dubbing for the finish the head off. About as simple as you can make a bug right there, and I'll tell you, you caddis guys are going to like this one. Got some good fish stories. A simple little fly from Gary there. Look at that. And you can tie it on a little shorter shank or different caddis hook too, but like I say, let me zone in on that a little bit. Zoom in. Just a good little fly for sure. Touch dubbing. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Well, here we're going to do another little, not a little fly, a big fly here. With some buggy dubbing here, we're going to do a little trick this one out, give you some options. Now here I'll just put on some green wire for rib, just give you some effect. Tie that back, half pitch. Now this material here is dubbing material. We're going to do this in a little bit too. I'm going to blend this up. This is rock chuck. Here's some rock chuck hair my friend gave me. And I made dubbing out of it. And that is a great dubbing. That stuff, they fight over that pelts when they get them. Put a little ice dub in there and you got yourself the buggiest stuff ever built right there. That's really nice. Go to the rear here again. Just get my dubbing loop. There, go in behind, tighten that up. get my spinner in there and we'll start working the rock chuck hair up in between. Just slide it up, tighten it up again, grab some more, and this is super. God, I like this stuff. I just said the same thing I think about seal fur, didn't I? I like it all. I like dubbing. I really do. It's create the coolest flies with it. I'm going to tighten that right up. Now we'll start wrapping it forward. Nice tight turns. And you can see what we got going there. This thing is a magnet. Okay, now we'll tie it off. I'm going to put a thorax in here. I want to show you something else. We're working on that. Bring our hot green wire through it. Nice and tight. Make sure you pull that right down to the shank. Tie that off. Cut the wire off. I always cut it off on the inside of the scissors, not by the tips. You ruin your scissors. And my brush. You can't make it much buggier than that. A little rock chuckle. Fish might not know what it is, but they'll want to eat it because all them little hairs and everything come out. It's very interesting. It looks alive. Okay, now when you're doing collars, we're going to do this a little bit later too, but here's some fluorescent shell pink. Let's just see what we can do to trick this kind of a drab fly up. We'll just roll some of this on. Fluorescent. And you can use whatever color you want. I'm just making this up as I go. And with thorax. And then I want to show you something here with the Scud, olive Scud that I was telling you about, that synthetic. It's a nice long fiber. This one's cut actually shorter, but it's still pretty long for what I would say. Now, so what I would do here is I'd get myself some dubbing brush wire. And this is a product I would recommend. It's stainless steel extra fine wire. This is small. You can get it in, I think, 3 sizes. I only get the small. I can do anything with it. And I'm just going to tie that in on a loop. Now the reason I like using the wire, where's my spinner right here, is it kind of stands the material out a little more. I find when I pull it up here, it's going to really create a nicer collar. Because I want to leave those fibers long. So you see when I spin it, the thread gets kind of loose. Pick this out. See, it wants to kind of stay nice and form more of a collar for me. Then behind there, now we start seeing the long stuff showing up, and I want to just sweep this back. Nice little collar. Tie that off. Maybe some junk out of the way here. Tie it back. You see that envelope's that pink. Where's my little bodkin needle here? when I click this out, so you can see what you can do with dubbing. It is really, really cool. These flies, you can bring a lot of life to them. A lot of changes. Look at that. What's going on there? Looks like a creature they just got to eat. It's got a lot of shine. You got the translucency. You got lots happening there. Very interesting, isn't it? So we'll get some more dubbing techniques into you here in a little bit. Keep on watching. We'll keep adding more. Thank you.